Hi, welcome to Faith Walk It Out with Ness. I'm Ness, and this is just a personal journey where we're taking the ride and we're not just walking life out blindly, but we're faith walking out with the Lord. Oh. Okay, so this first episode, I'm super excited. It's gonna be just me sharing my testimony, you getting to know me, and then, I'm just gonna walk you through the journey of my life in the past and in the present. And this will be fun. It'll be a few different parts. So this is part one. Okay, here we go. Not nervous, it's all good. Okay, so me, so I'm Vanessa, Ness, AKA. I was born in Los Angeles, California. I still live in California, kind of a Cali girl, born and raised. And I need my pillow, hold on. And so born and raised in Cali. And I, grew up in, it was nice, a nice neighborhood, but there was also a lot of fights I would get into. I used to get suspended a lot. So I wouldn't say I was the best child. I was a tomboy, tom girl. I would wear sweats all the time. I'm outside playing in the dirt, playing kickball with the boys. That was just always my personality. I grew up as an only child until I was 8, and then my sister came along, and right when she was born, 3 months later, we moved out of LA, to the outskirts of LA in the suburbs. Really nice area. And then I would say from 8 up until high school, I pretty much lived in that area. Got a lot of friends. I also went through bullying growing up and different things. So my heart was pretty yo, this is me, I'm here, the world's gonna listen. I was just a fiery personality naturally. And I still am, but more so fiery, but also don't mess with me type of thing. So that was that. Went to college in the Bay Area. So driving wise, 8 hours from home. I feel that's where life really slapped me in my face. And I was whoa, there's more to life than just what I knew in the area I grew up in with my family. That's crazy. So in the school, a few different things happened when I was 17. And I would say 17, and I still say this to this day, 17 years old was the worst year of my life. Thus far. And I'm, only 28, so I know more life I gotta live. But at 17, within 6 months, so I had just moved into the dorms at my college, and within 6 months, I was homesick for the first time, culture shock for the first time. I experienced firsthand racism for the first time, fell in love for the first time, had my first heartbreak for the first time, lost my virginity for the first time. My parents got a divorce, so it was really rough. The school I was at, I didn't know anybody, except one person, through a family member. And that was my life. And I was 17, freshman in college. So, really, I think what did it was the divorce simultaneously with moving to a whole nother area that I had no idea even existed. So that was a lot in itself. So because of my parents getting divorced, my relationship with my father, which it is so beautiful. It's a budding relationship now and love him. But at the time, we've gone through our rough patches. And because of that, I went to guys. I went to partying, I went to drinking, I went to smoking, I went to all the things. But nobody would know. I was suffering on the inside. I didn't even know I was suffering on the inside. I thought, okay, this is what my life is. I'm gonna just wild out. I'm just be me. Cause I grew up very sheltered. So in college, I felt I have freedom. Whoa, let's get it. So I went and got it. So when I went to boys, that's where the, falling in love for the first time. And I put air quotes because, I didn't even know what love was. You ask me what love is today, I have a completely different answer for you than when I was 17, okay? So, yeah, I thought I was in love. That didn't work out. Then, lost my virginity. And it was just like a whirlwind. Like Pandora's box was really open. And I grew up a Christian. I grew up in church. I guess you could say a first generation Christian household. Because my dad grew up Catholic. My mom grew up like Buddhist and atheist, but they met in college and they both got saved in college. So I'm like a first generation, like grew up in a Christian household, like praying in tongues. I heard that since I was a baby. My mom plays guitar, so like worshiping, going to church, all the things. But I didn't have my own relationship with God, at all. But little did I know, like that was the foundation that my parents laid that I would then, as I got older, like know I could go back to. And we'll get into that. But going back to the story. So yeah, I was wilding, but I thought I was good. And if anybody just looked at me at first glance, it's like, oh, okay, she a college athlete, she playing volleyball, she getting good grades, she got friends, she goes out. In college, I discovered I could rap. So I just kind of took it and ran with it. And I was rapping all throughout campus, performing, doing all these different things. And then I was like the president of a club senior year. So, people who didn't, I would say people who didn't know me, but also people who knew me, they didn't know what my heart was going through. I didn't, again, know what my heart was going through. But it was like, nobody needed to question me about anything because it's like, oh, it looks like she's doing great. And, on the outside, I was, but on the inside, I wasn't. And I knew I had a problem. There was something going on the end of my junior year when it was spring break, so it was a week off. I would always go home, but because of all the turmoil that was going on, I didn't want to go home. So I stayed on campus by myself for a week straight. I didn't eat. I was happiest when I was by myself under the covers. I would shut the blinds and I had Netflix on. I don't even know what I was watching, probably Pretty Little Liars or something, but I was binge watching something day and night. And I was the happiest in the dark under my covers. And I knew something was wrong when classes were starting again. And I was like, I don't feel like going. So I just didn't go for a whole week. Then my friend, we were at the grocery store and she like literally touched my collarbone and she was like, you're skinny. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you lost a lot of weight. And I was like, no, I didn't. So then I go home, or I don't know, I weighed myself or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. Because I wasn't eating. And then I remember I was like throwing up at some point. It was just bad. That's when I knew, okay, something is wrong and I needed help. So I didn't want to talk to anybody or anything. So I knew on campus there was like free counseling, like therapy. And no one in my family ever went to therapy. Nobody ever talked to me about therapy, but I was like, I need help. So I walked on down with my hood on, looking at the floor, like nobody talked to me. And it took work, but all of senior year, that was when I was introduced to therapy. I go in thinking she's gonna give me a quick fix about, why I'm not eating and stuff. Then come to find out, I remember the first thing she said was, you don't like being vulnerable. And I was like, yes, I do. What you mean? And she was like, no, you don't like being vulnerable with people, with your dad, with guys. And I was like, okay. But she made me think and I just stuck with it. And I was like, oh wow, like there's a lot that I need to work on, like as a human, as a person. So I was what, 20? I think I was 20. I was 20. And I thought I had life figured out. I thought I was good. Till, therapy come knock you in your face and it's like, okay, let's work on us. So yeah, I graduated college at 21. Moved back home for like 6 months till I got a job, praise the Lord. And then I moved back out to LA, which was crazy. It was like down the street from where I was literally born. So full circle moment. At this point, I'm 22, working in LA. I remember I had a vision board. And here's the kicker. I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing so great in life. I was living on my own, paying all my bills for the first time in life, got my own car. I had a career in the, field I went to school for. Everything was aligning. And I looked at that vision board and I was like, check, 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 check. And then, but I looked at myself and I was like, I don't like me. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, I don't like living with myself. I don't like being with myself. And it was because I was living on my own and I was so used to distracting. Like, I would distract all the time. I used to, when I would go to clubs, it was to distract. I would drink to distract. I would, hit up friends all the time just so I wasn't alone and I had somebody to be with. So I didn't have to deal with what was going on the inside of me. But once I was living on my own, and I accomplished everything, even that was the distraction. But once I'd accomplished everything, then it was like, oh, like I really don't like me. And I remember being in a dark place where I would like compare myself to people on social media a lot, do whatever was needed and necessary to feel significant on the inside of me. And do it in the only way I knew how, the only way, me and my friends, this is how the world, was doing it. So you just get validation from other people, So at this point I was like, okay, I need to be radical. Like, I need to change my life. I've never tried Jesus. Like, I remember there was a thought that was in my head and I was like, I mean, I know about the Lord, but like, I've never tried him for real. And I was like, okay, let me get serious about this and let me try something different. Because, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I was like, we need to do something a little different, a lot different. So I remember I had a friend who, when I would go to church, yes, I had a home church. I don't know how active I was. I don't remember. But I remember there was a girl who I was like, okay, like I can confide in her because I didn't know who else to turn to or who to talk to. And, I just took all of her advice. Now, granted, there were some things where if I could go back and like do it over, like I would, because I had to forgive myself. Because I basically at the time was like, I'm cutting off anybody who doesn't know the Lord or who can't pour into me about the Lord or anything like that. But I definitely would go back and have a conversation with them instead of just like cutting them off. And I didn't say anything. What I did to get radical with the Lord was I got off social media. So they couldn't even find me when I cut them off. But I got off all social media. I changed my phone number that I had from like high school or college. I only gave it to people who, fit that criteria in my head of, they know the Lord or they could help me, da da da. I stopped listening to secular music. That was a big one. I stopped watching like movies and shows. I ended up binge watching sermons, and that wasn't even on purpose. On my YouTube timeline, because it was like, okay, I'm not watching movies or shows, I would be on YouTube. And I never watched YouTube. This was like 2020. This was January 2020. 3 months before, whole pandemic stuff. So there was like godly relationship videos or like certain sermons that would pop up. So I would just watch them and I started binge watching them. I also stopped entertaining dudes and stopped dating. And that was my new life. That was what I did in an attempt to find the peace I was looking for. I didn't know nothing about nothing. I had been trying to find peace my entire life, but I couldn't find it. I tried to control my life. It ended up just catching up to me in the end. So in part 2, I'll get into the rest of what happened when I took these action steps, because there was a lot of tears. Like, cry me a river. Yeah, that was me. Oh yeah, it was a lot. So I'll go into that in part 2. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this video, make sure you like it, subscribe so you can be notified when new content arrives. And I will be back with part 2 of this series next week. Bye. Hi, welcome. Okay. Start over. Today we're gonna talk about my testimony. No. Oh gosh, doing this by faith. Faith, walk it out. I'm so nervous, but I thank you, Lord, that you got me. Hi. Okay. I'm your host, Ness. I'm your host. Okay. Jeez. Tell me that worked, Lord. Tell me that worked.